Forum அமைப்பின் சார்பில் கோரிக்கை வைப்பதற்காக திரு நிர்மலன் உங்களிடையே பேச இருக்கிறார். அவரோடு தமிழ்ஸ் அகெயின்ஸ்ட் ஜெனோசைட் என்கிற அமைப்பின் சார்பில் பேசுவதற்காக ஹென்ரிகா பிரிஸ்கோவ் அவரும் நம்மிடையே வந்திருக்கிறார். இருவரும் நம்மிடையே இந்த ஜெனீவா மனித உரிமை பேரவை கூட்டத்தில் இந்திய அரசு என்ன செய்ய வேண்டும் என்பது குறித்த வேண்டுகோளை வழங்கியிருக்கிறார்கள். Here, Mr. Nirmalan, on behalf of British Tamil Forum, is going to say something about forthcoming Geneva conference, what Government of India is going to do for Tamils. Our Nirmalan will explain and demand to the government. Along with Nirmalan, Henrietta Briscoe, advocacy of Tamils against genocide, will ask Government of India to co-sponsor the resolution along with US-based resolution in Geneva conference.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And my name is Nirmalan. I'm the head of human rights for British Tamil Forum. Thanks everybody for coming to this press conference, and I really appreciate it. And many thanks for the MPs and well wishes we understand how to attend this the press conference. Let me explain a bit about British Tamil Forum. British Tamil Forum is a non-violent method advocacy for Tamil. It's a diaspora organization based in the United Kingdom. British Tamil Forum established in 2006. We've been advocating with Western diplomacy and the British parliamentarians and the State Department, the other Western and Eastern governments to advocate the Tamil issue in the international arena to make sure they get proper justice and for the crimes being happened in Sri Lanka. And the first thing you may ask, why are we here? And the reason we are here, we are requesting the Indian government to support the forthcoming US draft resolution to strengthen to our demands. As you all know, in 2012 March, the US-based resolution brought in Geneva the Human Rights Council, and that resolution clearly explained that demanding the LLRC recommendation. As we know, the LLRC is not going to deliver any tangible justice to the Tamils. Also, we know that the local judicial mechanism is not going to deliver any justice and accountability for the Tamils. That's why the British Tamil Forum and the other Tamil organization, diaspora organization, the other organization demanding international independent inquiry into war crimes, crimes against humanity, and structural ongoing genocide in Sri Lanka. And we are strongly urging the Indian government to take a leading step toward the forthcoming session. They should take the leadership and co-sponsor or sponsor the resolution based on the international investigation into the crimes against humanity and genocide. The reason why we are asking for an international investigation, the failure mechanism within the Sri Lankan judicial system never going to deliver tangible justice. As you know, past 60 years, there's so many genocidal acts and pogroms and war crimes happen. There were so many inquiry commissions were set up to investigate, and none of the inquiry commission being in the history deliver any justice for Tamils. And also, the Sri Lankan judicial system never had any sort of witness protection program for Tamil, so who can come forward and give their evidence. The witness normally being harassed and abused. They never been given a proper judicial, and always been denied to the justice system. That's why we no longer believe in the Sri Lankan judicial structure. We clearly demand for an international independent inquiry that can give a benefit for the Tamils who can come forward and give the judicial. Also, the perpetrators can bring the justice, can have a fair trial for Tamils. And also, while we are addressing the issue, we are calling upon the UN High Commissioner and the Indian government to support and bring out the individual who are responsible for the violation of the international humanitarian law, including the extrajudicial killing, sexual violence, and arbitrary detention and enforced disappearance, which are committed during the wars in Sri Lanka. Now I'm going to pass this over to my colleague. She is from Tamils Against Genocide, and she will explain. And afterward, once she has completed, I will take a question from the audience, and then I will answer the question. Thanks.
Welcome. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you all for coming to listen to us today as well. Thank you for introducing. Thank you for being here. My name is Henrietta Briscoe. I'm the Advocacy and Litigation Manager for TAG, standing for Tamils Against Genocide. I just explained briefly what TAG does in our work over the recent months. We're an international, not-for-profit, non-governmental human rights organisation, and we're devoted to securing accountability for the crimes that have been committed, specifically in Sri Lanka against the Tamil people. We have a number of core functions in order to achieve this, one of which is prosecution. Indeed, we have a lawsuit ongoing in the US against President Rajapaksa. At the moment, that's ongoing. We've submitted dossiers, one of which is to the International Criminal Court against Khalifa Kahuna and others. Additionally, we've done a lot of work in the UK recently on asylum, and we were an interested party, or currently are an interested party, in a country guidance asylum case. That's yet to be determined, but that assesses the risk to failed asylum seekers of being sent back to Sri Lanka. Another aspect of our work is advocacy. So we submitted a submission to the Universal Periodic Review back in November, and I'll be going to Geneva to speak with delegations over the next few weeks. In terms of research, we've written 3 large reports over the last year. There's appraisals on the side here, or you just one-page summaries of those reports. One on white vans, and white vans is an instrument of state machinery. And then another 2, one called Returnees at Risk, and another Activist Intimidation. And across those 2 reports, we have 34 cases of successful asylum appeal determinations since 2009 of returnees from the UK back to Sri Lanka, all Tamil, who were tortured in Sri Lanka and then managed to return to the UK where they were granted asylum. So that's 34 credible allegations of torture post-2009. And finally, victim support, in whatever form that's required, is another of our core functions. So before I explain more why we're here today, to elaborate on Nerman here, I'd just like to give a quote, a famous quote from Mahatma Gandhi. Peace will not come out of a clash of arms, but out of justice, lived and done by unarmed nations in the face of arms. And we're calling for accountability. Accountability before reconciliation. There can be no reconciliation without that accountability first, without justice. And the form of that needs to be an international, independent investigation. And we say that given the culture of impunity currently in Sri Lanka, which is illustrated by our White Van report, there is no judicial independence. and also in light of the limitations that we all know of the LLRC and the failures, the wholesale failures of implementation, I'm referring to the National Action Plan, which the High Commissioner herself critiqued in a lengthy report recently. We note with alarm that far from justice, war crimes witnesses and those who call for justice are themselves at risk. They are branded LTTE. And indeed, if you look at the cases, and this is in more detail in our reports, the returnees at risk and the activist intimidation, you'll see that the majority of the cases did have only tenuous links to the LTTE, and yet they were all tortured. Under torture, one of the persistent questions was regarding protests, whether that be against President Rajapaksa's visit to London or protests for calling for accountability. And we call for accountability, recognising the context of 60 years of denial of rights and persecution, and in light of the current nature of the state. So it's not in isolation, we're not calling for accountability purely for the last 3 months, but in context. And meantime, while we wait for an international investigation, militarisation of the north continues, destruction of Tamil religious and cultural sites continues, demographic changes are being affected, and the evidence of those crimes towards the end of the war are being destroyed, is being destroyed. Therefore, we would like India not only to support the US in preparing the resolution against Sri Lanka, but to strengthen it, to call for that independent international investigation, and to encourage other states to do the same. Thank you.